Hello and welcome to today's Delta Credit Tip. So you applied for credit and you got declined, and one of the reasons is too many inquiries into your credit. How do inquiries affect your credit score? How can you get them off? Well, stay tuned. We'll fill you in on today's Delta Credit Tip. Hello and welcome back to today's Delta Credit Tip. So you've got these inquiries on your credit report and your lender is basically declining you because you've simply got too many inquiries. How does all this affect your credit from a greater scheme of things? How do we get these inquiries deleted from the credit report? Well, stay tuned. We're going to give you some tips and tricks on these inquiries. What does it mean to your credit? And if you stay tuned near the end, we're going to give you some special tips on things that you may want to consider regarding these inquiries before you dismiss them. Okay? Hopefully this information will be helpful to you. If so, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget, subscribe and hit the bell so that every Thursday as we come out with more information to help you in your credit restoration process, you get that information right out of the gate. If you happen to know someone who's trying to clean up their credit or going to look to get a loan in the near future, whether it be a mortgage or a business loan or a car loan, and they're trying to get things cleaned up, share this information with them. Right? That's the whole point of the YouTube channel, so that we can stay informed and help each other make a choice and make a change here with Delta. So let's talk about these inquiries. Okay. Now, by and large, an inquiry into your credit is not going to really produce a dramatic change in your score. All right. Really, what's going to determine how much an inquiry affects your score is going to be based on two things. One, the type of pull that it was of your credit, and second, the amount of times it was pulled. All right. All these things really will affect how dramatic the inquiry into your credit has an effect on your score. But what we've really found is that while it may not have a great impact on your score, it does have a great impact on your lendability. Too many inquiries into your credit makes it look like you're fishing for money, like you may have a shortage of cash flow. Right? And that makes lenders skittish. So as you start to accumulate these inquiries into your credit, you become less and less and less lendable, not because of a score perspective, but because of the skittishness that the lenders have because you're shopping for rates or you're shopping for money. Okay. Now, truth be told, the bureaus are supposed to truncate multiple pulls. So let's say that you are shopping for a car or you're shopping for a house and you're shopping rates within a certain period of time. And typically you're looking around 30 days or less, right? So you're shopping for these rates and you're getting all these hits on your credit. The bureaus are supposed to recognize what you're doing and kind of truncate them all into one pull so that it doesn't have a dramatic effect on your score. Well, love the bureaus, but there's like 3 billion pulls of credit every day, and sometimes from a logistics standpoint, it's got to be understandable that they're not saying, oh yeah, that Michael Holmes guy over at Delta Credit Restoration, oh, he's shopping for a car, he's doing the right thing, let's put all those pulls together and make it one big pull, right? Don't have enough confidence in the ability of any company that has 3 billion pulls to get that piece right. So before you go shopping for something, let's say it's a car or a house or whatever, you want to pull your own credit first and obtain the scores, buy the scores, right? So that you can see your starting point. So as you're going through and you're making these inquiries into trying to establish a new account, you know what your starting score was and what your ending score was. So how are you going to determine otherwise that they didn't truncate those pulls into one, right? You got to know what you started with to know if you've been made whole on the back end. So before you go shopping for rates, make sure you pull your own credit so that you can kind of get a gauge as to where your score started, right? But that's on pulls that you have authorized, right? When we start talking about disputing inquiries on your credit report, the gist of that really should be unauthorized pulls, right? What this is really talking about is in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you've got this section 604 that talks about permissible purpose. And that's really what this is all about. It's not necessarily that they pulled my credit and it's affecting my score. There's somebody looking in my credit, right? There's somebody pulling my credit, and they're going to pull it one of two ways based on the type of relationship that they either have with you or the type of relationship that they're trying to establish with you, okay? If you've got a creditor that has already got an established relationship with you, or you yourself are trying to pull your credit, or you're trying to adjust an account that you already have. So basically still, again, a relationship that you already have. Those are considered soft pulls on your credit, okay? Those don't really have an effect whatsoever on your score. That's why as you go to these places like Credit Karma or Identity Guard or any place that you might find on financialtoolshed.com that's got these options where you can start monitoring your own credit, none of that ever affects your score. You can pull your own credit till your heart's content. It's not until you have either a lender, creditor, or an employer that's pulling your credit to try to establish a relationship with you that it will affect your score. Okay, so that car dealership, that banker, that lender, that creditor, when they pull your credit, that's going to affect your score. But who has this permissible purpose that we talked about? Okay, so there's a big myth out there that debt collectors don't have permissible purpose to pull your credit. And that simply isn't true, right? It is written in the law that debt collectors, for accounts that you have legally established, they have the right to inquire into your credit in the course of trying to collect that information. Why? Because the bureaus make money on it. It's called skip tracing, right? You fill out an application, they're going to keep that information and sell it to that company that asks for it, right? You're getting in the way of their cash flow. So yes, it's written in the laws because as we all know, the Fair Credit Reporting Act really favors the bureaus and the banks and the lenders, okay? But let's go deeper into this whole permissible purpose thing, okay? And whether or not a creditor really has the opportunity to pull your credit. You go to, let's give an example of a car dealership. This is the most classic example, right? If you go to that car dealership and you say, okay, you can pull my credit once, and then they act as a broker and pull it multiple times, they may have been authorized to pull it once, but did they have really the authorization to pull it the multiple times? That's where it comes down to what did you sign to allow this to happen? So if you're going back on your credit report and you're wanting to now start removing things from your credit report, it's not very common now that everybody signs something to get their credit pulled for a variety of things, right? They just don't simply collect the signature. So that's really an opportunity for you to go back and say, hey, show me where I gave you the authorization to pull my credit, be it the first time or the second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth time, and you can use that lack of signature or lack of authorization to then get that item removed from your credit report. Now, if you're talking about debt collectors and things like that, you're going to have to first establish that the company for which they are collecting did not have the authority to pull your credit to determine whether or not they had the authorization to pull your credit. Okay? Now, you don't want to just go blindly starting disputing everything on your credit report, right? You want to have a legitimate reason as to why you're disputing these things on your credit report, these inquiries onto your credit report. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with a bunch of dispute commentary on your credit report and make you not lendable anyway, okay? But there are two things that we want to talk about that you really want to be cognizant of before you start trying to eliminate all these disputes off of your credit report. The first thing that you got to recognize is that inquiries are warning signs. If you've got inquiries on your credit report that you didn't authorize, before you delete them and forget all about them, you need to find out who are these people that are looking into your credit, because it may have been initiated by someone trying to steal your identity. These are huge warning signs. So before you start disputing it and getting it off the credit report, you need to investigate first, well, who was pulling my credit and why? Because you may find that you've got an issue of identity theft going on, right? The second thing you want to look at is, again, disputing everything on your credit report, including the accounts that you've established through those inquiries, could cause you problems, because that could mean that you didn't authorize a new account that you have and they're going to shut it down. So probably won't work with a car that you're trying to keep from being repoed. Probably will not keep from your house being foreclosed because you just want to say that you never applied for it. But other inquiries that you may have, like credit cards, right? Lines of credit, that kind of thing, they may just shut those things down because you're saying that they never had the authorization to pull your credit in the first place. So if you've got a credit that you want to keep and you start disputing the inquiries into your credit, that could create a little bit of a problem. Right? So again, going back, it's really not the score that's going to be a big issue. We found that if you apply for credit and you get it, your score goes up. But if you apply for credit and you don't get it, your score goes down. Right? And there's also the issue of, well, what does that do to the average age of the accounts when you do establish the new account? Right? So really there's more to how an inquiry will affect your score than just the inquiry itself. But hopefully this information helps. If so, don't forget, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the bell so that every Thursday, as we come out with more information, you get it right out of the gate and it helps you with your credit repair process. And hopefully you can make a choice to make a change here at Delta.